Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Davey Cretin back to the channel. Tonight we are continuing our Styx series. So tonight we're looking at Cornerstone and Paradise Theater. We want to hear from you. Let's
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Holy crap. Jeez. Things are happening. Davey,
we're here. It's live, baby.
Oh, yeah, we don't mess around. Look, I've already got a heart. Look, it's John Clauser. Johnny Metal. He's emotional. He gave me a heart. Anyway, we got 12 people watching. That's a good start. I can deal with that. Davey, how are you? What's happening?
Fine. Thanks for having me back, Grant.
Of course. Well, I have to have you back because I can't finish it without you. So
episode number 5. Albums
number
9 and
5.
10.
So anyway, yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday. And this is part of our Styx series. Yes, we are already at Cornerstone and Paradise Theater. So if you need an introduction to Styx, well, screw that, because this is episode, we're way in the series
5.
by now.
Yeah,
we're in 5. Go catch up. So Davey, we did Pieces of 8. We're now into it. This is where I think we've gone into like a new era.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, let's start out with this. So we're going to talk about Cornerstone, Peace, and Paradise Theater. So Cornerstone came out in 1979. Actually came out October 19th, 1979. This was recorded at Pumpkin Studios, Oak Lawn in Illinois, which kind of has something to do with the changing of the sound on this record, I think. Got to number 2 on the Billboard 200. The highest charting album, until Paradise Theater hit number 1 in 1981. This record was certified triple platinum.
No, double platinum, actually. That's a big myth. It's like the Mandela effect.
Explain.
It's only double platinum. If you go to the RIAA site, it says 2 times platinum. So they did not have 4 triple platinum albums in a row, because Grand Illusion is triple platinum, Pieces of 8 is triple platinum, Cornerstone is double platinum, then Paradise Theater is triple platinum. And they haven't been certified for decades. So
yeah, it has to be 3 by now, but whatever.
But not officially. Not officially.
All right. We don't want to wreck anybody out here listening or wreck the internet by any means. So we don't want to cause the internet to shut down. Anyway, so hey, let's talk about Cornerstone a bit. Davey, what's your whole thoughts on this record? And I don't know.
Like you said, it's a very different sound because they added real strings and a horn section. They've never had that before. And they went a little more towards pop rock instead of hard rock and prog rock here. It's their first U.S. top 5, as you said. They got their first Grammy nomination for Babe. They won the People's Choice Award for the best song of 1980 with Babe. And they were voted most popular rock band in the U.S. in the 1980 Gallup poll.
Yeah. So
things were changing. And I think the fact of the matter is that the fans were used to more of a hard rock and slightly proggy sound. They switched studios, like you said, which is a big thing. They still have, they produced it themselves. The engineers are still Rob Kingsland and Gary Loizo, however he pronounces his name. Sorry if I got that wrong. But because of the strings and the horns, it's a different sound. It's more streamlined. And there are certain songs here where JY's not even on them. So he's definitely not on 2 tracks, and he might even not be on 3 tracks here. So it's a really big time. It's like split between Tommy Shaw, Dennis DeYoung, and they co-wrote a couple of songs together. The first song, Lights, and the last song, Love in the Midnight, which are my 2 personal favorites. I'll say that right now. Dennis DeYoung, Tommy Shaw co-writes on each. And James Young only has 1 song on here, Eddie. And to me, it's not particularly his best song. His songs were much better on their previous records. So this album did really well for the band. In Australia, it hit number 21, Canada number 3, the Netherlands 27, Germany number 6, New Zealand 14, Norway 25, the UK 36, and as you said, number 2 in the US.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
it's certified platinum in Canada, over 100,000 copies sold, gold in Germany, over 250,000 copies sold, and double platinum plus in America, which has to be about 3, 4, maybe even 5 million by now. These records haven't been certified since the 80s. So that's 4 decades worth. The band doesn't want to pay for it, and the label doesn't want to pay for it because they'd have to give the band more royalties, probably. That's always been my thought here. And the vinyl is very cool on this record because I just was showing the CD before, but it pulls out, it folds out. It's like a tri-fold. Really cool vinyl. I couldn't get my copy out of storage, unfortunately, but I was showing the CD booklet quickly while you were talking. You want to get into the tracks here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, but I think a lot of this, you might think that it's less. When I listened to this record, it wasn't so much about the ballads or anything like that. It was when they changed the studio, it became a lot colder sounding record. Because I think, you know, you look at Grand Illusion, you look at Pieces of Eight, those are a lot more analog sounding. I'm not saying that this was a digital recording by any means, but it just seemed to be there was something missing. Now, I know it was, you know, this record, I have no problem because I bought this right when it came out when I was a kid. Same with Pieces of Eight, same with Paradise Theater, and I didn't have a problem with it. I'm just looking back at it now. You kind of listen to this stuff, and this record, Paradise Theater, and Kilroy all have a certain tonality that is not there on the previous records. And I don't think it's quite as enticing or as good as what came before. I don't have a problem with the songwriting as much. I just think it's just, they just seem like they're cold sounding records to me, if that makes sense. I don't know how you look at it.
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent because they're more clinical, they're more in the pop realm than the hard rock realm. So the band were changing, they were mutating, they were progressing, which is what progressive rock bands are supposed to do, not make the same album every time out. And this is a very different album from their previous records. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It comes from the studio and just the band becoming more streamlined and the whole music industry changing from the 70s to the 80s. As Dennis says on Borrowed Time, don't look now, but here come the 80s.
I guess that pretty much sums it up. So, yeah, but I saw him on this tour when I was a kid. I have no problems with this record at all, but I've just noticed that it's not quite what came before. And I think this record kind of looking back at it and comparing it to what came before and what came after, I think Cornerstone is kind of, shall I use the term dark horse? Because, I think Paradise Theater's people look at it a lot more favorably than this record and Pieces of Eight. But,
Definitely.
Back in then when this came out, we didn't think anything about it. I'm just talking about how we look at things as time goes on. I don't know.
Right. You want to talk about, do you remember the
Go
concert?
ahead. Huh?
No, the concert. Do you remember the concert? Really
I do. Well? We were in Athens, Ohio at OU. Michael Stanley Band opened and then Styx played. I was there with my parents and my buddy John. We were, yeah.
Was it your first concert? Or?
No.
Okay.
That was like my third concert or fourth.
Okay, same with me, but I come in seeing them live on the next album, so I'll get to that later. Do you have any specific reflections or memories of the show that stand out? Not really. We were kind of far back, but it didn't matter. We were there, and I just remembered. What I really remember is Dennis DeYoung. I had a white piano. For some reason, Davey, that's what is in my mind. Dennison playing his piano. See, I thought when I saw them on the next tour, it was a black piano, a regular like Bosendorfer type looking piano.
Mm-hmm. Could be, yeah. I don't know.
Whatever, but okay.
Anyway, so what's your thoughts on the record? I mean, other tracks or anything like that.
Well, Lights starts off the record about 4 minutes, 40 seconds. It's a co-write, Tommy Shaw and Dennis. And after Shaw's success on their previous platter, I think it's a crime that this melodic masterpiece was not issued as a single in America. This is a great, catchy song. Shaw has a great lead vocal, and the backing vocals on this song are stellar. You get the triad harmony vocals. And I love that high note that Tommy Shaw hits at the end about 4:30 as the song fades out. Whoa, whoa. He gets much higher than I just did. It's a little disco infused in the middle section because, like everyone else at the time, Rod Stewart, Kiss, etc., everyone's Pink Floyd had a bit of a disco song. And the midsection has that Four on the Floor with a great Chuck Panazzo bass and John Panazzo drummer groove on it. It's got a really good groove. There's a conversation going on in the background. I can't make out what they're saying. I looked it up on the internet and I still don't know what it is. Do you know?
No.
Okay. If anyone knows, put it in the comments below. This was the B-side of Why Me in the US. It was issued as a single in Germany, UK, and Spain. Hit number 35 in Germany. Bonus points for Dennis DeYoung's Fender Rhodes electric piano here and his shimmering synths, which sound like stuff from the previous two albums. Ed Tossing is the guy who plays horns and does the horn arrangements on this song. And I really think it's a great track, and it should have been a single here. I think it would have been a hit. What are your thoughts on Lights?
I think it's, like I said, it's one of my, you want me to be honest, Davey? It's one of my favorite Styx songs, to be honest. I don't have a problem with this record at all. I like it when Tommy and Dennis collaborate. I think it's a good way to start out the record. And it kind of sets the tone for the record as well. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, cleaner, homogenized, streamlined, a little mainstream.
Yeah, it should have been a single though, I think.
Definitely should have been a single in the States. Then we get to Why Me, Dennis written, Dennis vocals, a little under 4 minutes. It was the second single released after the whole first time kerfuffle, but I'll get to that later. It reached number 26 in the US charts, number 10 in Canada. And Dennis says it's about depression and asking why stuff happens to him or to the person. Why do bad things keep happening? I do the right thing, something goes wrong. Sax solo here is by Steve Eisen, and my favorite part of the song is the pre-chorus with the call and response between Dennis on the lead vocals and just Tommy on that part of the backing vocals. Hard times come, hard times go. That pre-chorus is great. It comes around twice, and I wish it was in the song more because to me, that's my favorite part of the song. Dennis is on Fender Rhodes again. You get some nice synth work from him, and the midsection has a bit of a sax guitar solo duel. Sax dueling with the guitar, so it's a little weird. It's a little different from the band. Great backing vocals on this song, and I like towards the end where Dennis goes, "Why me? That's what I want to know." You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a good song. It's not a great Styx song. It's not as good as Lights, but it's a really good track.
But it's a reason Lights is opening up the album because slogans going Marlon's favorite Styx song. Yeah, if Marlon was here, Marlon would want to jump out of a window because
it's got horns on it.
And I'm going to bring that up. Has anybody seen Marlon, ladies and gentlemen? Because I haven't seen him lately. What happened to Marlon? Anyway, yeah, but he doesn't like sax or horns. He would hate that. But I don't have a problem with that track at all. And, if we're talking about that track, if he doesn't like that track, he's not going to like the track that's after this.
Well, the next track everyone thinks is the song that broke up the band, but it definitely is not. Babe, written and sung by Dennis DeYoung. JY is not on this song. No James Young, no vocals from him, no guitar work from him. Dennis wrote this song for his wife, Suzanne, as a birthday present. Just him and the Panazzos in the studio. Mm-hmm. And there's two stories going around. One is that the record company heard the song somehow and said, "Oh, that song's a hit, put it on the album." So they overdubbed a Tommy Shaw guitar solo. He's the one playing the lead guitar in the middle of the song. All the vocals here are Dennis DeYoung, the lead and the backing vocals. No Tommy, no JY on the vocals. The other story is that James Young and Tommy Shaw heard the song and said, "Well, that's a hit. You got to put it on the record." So I'm not sure which story is true, which isn't true, but this was their first big hit. The guitar solo adds a bit of heft to it. There's also some nice synth work from Dennis, and you get some really nimble, because there are no guitars on it, basically. You get to hear the rhythm section. And I know we've spoken about how the rhythm section sort of was sidelined on the later albums, but on this song, you definitely get to hear Chuck on the bass and John on the drums, respectively, and they do a really good job. Just some quick chart action. Number 3 in Australia, 18 in Belgium, number 1 in Canada. Ooh, Ireland, number 4, the Netherlands, the Dutch charts, number 11, New Zealand, number 3, South Africa, of all places, number 1, UK, number 6, and America, number 1, also number 9 on the adult contempo charts. And as a single, it's certified gold in Canada, 75,000 copies, silver in the UK, 250,000 copies, and a gold single, over 1 million sales in America. So this was a huge hit for them. The problem is when they released the follow-up single, or were about to. So we'll get to that after. It's a nice ballad. It's just very overplayed by now, even though the band haven't done it in 25 plus years since Dennis was last in the band. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, when that came out originally, I didn't have a problem with it. Me and my friends, when we got Cornerstone, we didn't think anything. It's like when Kiss put out Destroyer. We didn't think twice about it. We just thought, oh, well, look, Peter Criss's drums sound really good on here. It's like this album. We didn't think anything about it. It was just another Styx album. So, probably a lot of that backlash came later, but we never thought about it. BM Bolt here says, like I said in the crack, we did an episode about albums where the cracks started to form. He said, this is the album where the cracks started to show. I don't care what Grant says.
He's right. I agree with him.
I don't know.
But it's something I'm going to get to in a few songs.
But if you say the cracks started to form here, and are there cracks on Paradise Theater? Because everybody seems
a little, but I'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But I'm just saying, I don't know, Byron. I do like this record, though.
So do I.
Maybe that's why he's bringing it up. So, okay.
Next up, we have Never Say Never, 3-minute song. Tommy Shaw wrote it. He sings it. And to me, and I want to know how you feel about this, Grant, to me, this is the closest that Styx ever came to power pop. What are your thoughts on that?
Power pop? Well, I guess it's close. If Schnee was here, he'd say it wasn't power pop, but I guess
close to it.
I guess it's close. I love it though. I love all the Tommy Shaw stuff on this record.
Yes, so
Tommy's
do I.
on fire. But Never Say Never, one of the standout tracks.
I wrote down, it's a crisp little rocker that gives off a Pinball Wizard vibe, because you got the strumming acoustic guitar, and then you've got, I guess, JY, although it could be Tommy, on the electric guitar power chords. Especially towards the end, there's a little snippet of music, and it's like, whoa, that's way influenced by the Who Pinball Wizard, which is a great influence to have. Dennis has some nice synth work on this song, and once again, you get some nice ping-ponging bass from Chuck Panazzo on this song. You hear him in the mix. I think it's a good little deep track that people should check out if they haven't heard it.
Oh, here we go. Louder says, disagree. Mademoiselle is a Styx doing power pop. Jay, I'm going to have to agree with you because I think that sounds more power pop than this.
Good call.
Damn, Jay. Bringing it. Nailing it. I have to agree. That's way more power pop.
Let's move on to the last song on side one.
Sure.
Boat on the River, 3 minutes, 10 seconds, written by Tommy. Tommy sings it. The second song on the album, maybe the third, because I'm not sure if JY is on Never Say Never, without JY. And that might explain why this record is sometimes derided by fans, because it doesn't have that hard rock, crunchy guitar edge to a lot of it. Now, this song is an acoustic folk ballad that did really well overseas. It was never released as a single in the U.S.
No.
Overseas, it hit number 5 in Germany, number 2 on the Austrian chart, 7 in South Africa again. Who knew Styx was so big there?
Who knew?
Number 1 on the Swiss charts, number 29 on the Dutch charts, and 18 in Zimbabwe and Africa again. And I only thought Trevor Rabin and Manfred Mann were the two big guys from South Africa.
I never thought about Zimbabwe, so well. There you
I never
go.
thought I'd be saying the word Zimbabwe on a YouTube
It's
show.
the first time we've ever said it on this channel.
Nice. Awesome. So the whole thing about this song is it sounds like it has a European vibe to it because Dennis goes back to his first instrument, accordion. And like I said, JY is on this song and Tommy's on the lead vocals. Dennis has some great backing vocals on this track, besides his accordion. And Tommy's on auto harp, mandolin, and acoustic guitar. And Chuck is playing one of those stand-up upright double basses. And John is on tambourine and a bass drum only, sort of like Peter Gabriel back in the day. Little Genesis reference for all you proggers.
See, Ken says, Grant, hello, jumping right over from SOT to support. Well, you just mentioned that, Ken, that everybody's going to leave. What the hell are you doing, Ken? You know,
Ken.
Someone was saying, Grant, what Webb said the other day, I hate to go on a tangent, but I put out a show and Webb said, well, it's right at the same time SOT. How can you not put up a show and not be up against SOT? Pete's got the whole internet market. So I just put out stuff when I put it out. I don't give a crap. And I'm not in a competition with Pete anyway.
It's like back in the day in the 70s when Happy Days was on ABC. The other networks tried to counter program, but nothing beat Happy Days in the ratings from the mid to late 70s, maybe even the early 80s.
Sorry, I'm all disjointed. Do what Michael says and hit the thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, definitely.
Sorry to doubt you, Grant. Hey, I'm just saying. I'm just doing my thing, whether you like it or not. If it was just Davey Cretin out there watching this show, I would still do it. Anyway, sorry. Nice. I'm all over the place.
So this song was covered by roughly 9. There are 9 covers of this song. Most of them are by European folk singers or artists. One American guy did it a couple of years ago, but it wasn't a big crossover top 40 hit or anything. But this is another song that did really well overseas and raised their profile there. So instead of just touring North America, Canada, and the US, they started touring overseas, went to Japan, which we'll see on the next couple of records and how that influenced Kilroy a bit. But the Guano Apes would be the band that I have the most name recognition with. They're a European band that covered Boat on the River, although I haven't heard their cover of it.
The Guano Apes?
Yep, Guano. I remember they had a CD or two in the 90s.
Only you, Davey, would bring up them.
From the record stores, I remember the Guano Apes. Jeez. But I didn't know they covered this song till I did research on it. What are your thoughts on Boat on the River?
It's fine. It's not... I like Tommy Shaw, but... I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't skip it now, but when it came out when I was a kid, it was like, meh. I didn't really think that much of it because it didn't seem like it fit on the album as much.
It is an outlier, but they took a lot of chances. Definitely. They didn't stay the same band, sort of like AC/DC did on most of their records. Not everyone. And I still like AC/DC, so that's not a slam against AC/DC.
But the other thing is that I've heard that Styx, you know, if you ever watch Behind the Music, though, I know that was heavily edited. You know how Tommy and JY always go, oh, we just wanted to rock.
And Tommy Shaw wrote songs like Boat on the River, She Cares on the next album. So
it really's not all Dennis's fault, ladies and gentlemen, you know. And if you listen to any of those Tommy Shaw solo albums, they're pure, there's no rocking on, Girl with Gun. Well, not very, it's way more commercial than this when I listen to it.
It's on par, I would say. But there's some rock stuff. Come In and Explain, the second song on Girls with Guns, I think is a good hard rock song.
It's not up to, I don't.
I like his debut solo album more than you. But getting back to the record, side 2.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, notice how Davey is totally concentrated on getting through this damn record. That's what I like about it. See, I'll go on a tangent, and then Davey's bringing me back in.
Yes, reining you in.
All right, keep going.
But you're still the superstar. The next track, written by Dennis and Tommy, 5 minutes long, Borrowed Time. And it's the one where Dennis says, don't look now, but here come the 80s. It's a bit proggy. It starts off 44 seconds. You get this
Oh,
cool.
there's no prog in there, Davey. Come
Yeah,
on.
the intro, the keyboards,
No.
and with I almost said John Chuck on bass. He has some cool bass at the beginning of the song, and you get, I guess it's Tommy strumming sort of like a disco guitar sound.
There's more disco than there's prog.
And then then 44 seconds, 45 seconds, the big power chords come in. Bow, 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 bow. And then you get John on drums. Boodaloop, boop, boodaloo. And this is the first real hard rock song on the record, I would say. You get Tommy on lead guitar on this song, and Dennis wrote it lyrically. It's a throwback to the Grand Illusion, like what's going on in America, how Dennis saw the U.S. in a bit of a decline. So lyrically, it harkens back to the Grand Illusion. And it's nice to finally hear a hard rock song on the record. Good Tommy Shaw guitar solo here. The one thing I always disliked about this song, and I wish I would have made my own edit decades ago, that yes, no section.
Mm-hmm.
I always hated that. That always rubbed me the wrong way. One of the reasons I might have it in for this record a little bit.
Well, if I'm going back in the day, it never bothered me. But now when I listen to it, I just kind of go,
Ugh.
I don't think it wears quite as well as it used to.
I just never liked it. That's one bad thing about this song. This was the third and final U.S. single. It only hit 64 in America, 76 in Canada. And the problem with Cornerstone, I think, and I'll say it here, is that it needed more upbeat rockers in this vein.
But if you had those on here, they wouldn't fit on the rest of the record.
You only have 9 songs. At least throw one more on to make it a little more evenly balanced.
But I really don't know what the whole reasoning was. I think that they just probably progressed, and this is where they naturally progressed to. I mean, you could put another rocker on it, but then it would stick out. I mean, when I listen to it, I think it's very well balanced. I think all these tracks belong together, but I don't know. This isn't really a rock, a heavy rock record by any means.
And that's the difference. That's why they gained some fans and lost some fans. They gained the Housewives with Babe, of course, and they lost some of the rock fans and a little bit of their rock cred. That's why the next record is a little more upbeat and rocking. But let's move on to track number 7, First Time. And this is the big song that caused the rift in the band. 4 minutes, 25 seconds, written by Dennis, sung by Dennis. This is the song that sowed the seeds for Styx' first hiatus a few years later. Not Babe, but First Time. The whole thing is that Babe was the first single. The record company wanted to release First Time as the second single, and Tommy Shaw said, no, we're not going to become a Barry Manilow act. We're not putting out 2 ballads in a row. I'll walk if you put this out as a single. So the record company backed off, and they said, okay. They didn't put it out as a single, and radio stations, from what I read, were starting to play it, but they released Why Me as the second single instead. And at this time also, and no one knows it really because there was no internet back then, they threw Dennis out of the band in early 1980. He was fired from Styx for about a month or so. And
I don't
nobody
remember
knew
that.
about it.
Oh.
It was in a book I read years ago that came out in the early 2000s on Styx. I think it was called The Grand Illusion. It was a black cover. I'd have to dig it out from my piles of books. It might not even be in the apartment here, whatever. But that's when the news first came out that they fired Dennis in early 1980. Then they brought him back because they figured, well, who are we going to get to replace him? He's written all the top 10 hits up to this point, which was true until the next album, but we'll get there.
Right.
So he was brought back into the band, but things were never the same. And it's all because Tommy Shaw and more the record company butted heads over the song. And Dennis acquiesced and said, yeah, we shouldn't have 2 ballads in the row. That's why they put out Why Me. But you get Dennis on Fender Rhodes electric piano again. You get Chuck on the great bass guitar. And then a minute in, you get JY and Tommy on guitars and backing vocals, unlike Babe. You get a noisy guitar solo. I think it's JY on the song. And he has a nice 30-second guitar solo. And you get Arnie Roth's string accompaniment. And then at 3 minutes after the guitar solo, the guitars after the mellow part, the guitars come back in. You get some nice stinging lead guitar from 3:45 till the song fades. And like I said, I think it's JY on this song. It's more of an upbeat. It's maybe a happier song and not as low key and mellow as Babe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear me in echo, or is it just me?
No, I don't hear an echo at all.
Okay, good. It's
Why?
just me.
You hear an echo?
I hear myself echoing, but if you don't hear it, that's good.
That's because you just hear yourself within your head.
The voices in my
The
head.
voices in your head are talking back to you.
So what are your thoughts on First Time?
I don't have a problem with First Time. It's just another ballad, and I don't have any problem with Dennis's ballad, so I don't have a problem with it. Sounds good. It's just like Babe Part 2.
I like it better because it hasn't been played as much. So
Yeah.
it's more
But-
pleasing to me to hear this song than Babe nowadays.
But I haven't heard Babe on the radio in years, so, I can take it as well. Maybe
Okay.
they play it like on satellite radio, but I'm not sure where they play it anymore.
Well, maybe the adult contemporary or 70s stations. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Wait a
Then
minute,
we move on to track
Kyle, is
8.
there an echo? Oh, Kyle might just be saying, is there an echo? Echo's
Kyle.
gone.
Then we
Oh.
get to
Maybe there
track-
was an echo, Davey. I don't know.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's gone.
Oh,
Then we
wait a
get-
minute. Gary said there was an echo. I don't know.
Echo.
I guess it's gone. I don't know what happened.
Track 8 is a JY song called Eddie. JY's on lead guitar, and he plays guitar synth on this song too. In 1979, there were guitar synths, and you could tell that his first
Oh, there's guitar
solo-
synths on Grand Illusion.
No, I don't
The
think
ARP guitar synthesizer, JY
Oh, during
plays.
the solo, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but he plays it, and it sounds like Dennis doing a solo on the keyboards, but the first half of the guitar solo was really JY on the guitar synth. And this song is a political song, and it's about Edward Kennedy, better known as Teddy back in the day, and JY's take on him because he said he was going to run for office, and JY saying, don't run because you're going to end up deceased like your brothers did. So this was a hot take at the time. And the song fades out at the 4-minute mark, and then it fades back up slowly, and then it has an abrupt ending. And I'm not even sure if Dennis and Tommy are on this song. If anyone knows, let me know. It could just be the Panazzos on bass and drums and JY, because I don't really hear keyboards, and I'm not sure if JY is doing all the guitars or just all the lead guitars. I think it's a decent song. It's okay. It just doesn't match up to his previous songs on the last few albums. Some nice drum work here by John Panazzo. What do you think about
I
Eddie?
think it's the weakest James Young song to date.
No, there's one coming up in 1990, and that's all I'll say that I think's a little
Well,
weak.
to date, this is the weakest.
Okay, we agree
I
to
can just leave it
disagree
at that.
again.
Well, we're not in 1990 yet, though, Davey.
At the point, yes, okay.
At this point, James Young had way better songs. So,
Especially
and I
on the
don't know
wooden-
if it had the proper production, maybe it would be better. Considering this is the hardest rocking song on the album, I don't think this album, as far as the production qualities, reflect what is going on here to its fullest, to its potential. If
it's-
this might be on Grand Illusion, or if it was on Hell, if you made Eddie on Equinox, it might have fared better. I don't think that the production enhances this track at all.
That's what I
mean.
was going to say. It's no Midnight Ride. Midnight Ride has much more of a snarling, growly edge to it than this song. And I think it's like you said, the studio and just the production techniques and moving from the old studio to the new studio. The last track on the album, to get back to it, just about 5.5 minutes long, Love in the Midnight, written and sung by Tommy Shaw. Starts off with Tommy on acoustic guitar and Dennis on Fender Rhodes. And I think the whole band shines on the song when they all come in. You hear all 3 guys on vocals, so all 5 guys are definitely on this song. The solo turns are nice, especially the elongated Looking for Love section, where you get Tommy, then Dennis, and then JY doing the highest harmony, looking for love, looking for love, looking for love. They do that twice, really good in the song. At 139, you get Chuck on the bass. He comes to the front, and you get this slightly proggy midsection. It's a simple bass and drum pattern, but it works well as the others layer their guitars and keyboards on top of it. 219, you get a really cool Dennis DeYoung synth solo. Then you get the guitar solo from Tommy, 246 to 313. Back into the pre-chorus, then the chorus. You get Arnie Roth's strings on here. It adds some tension to the song, which I like about the strings on this song. And to me, Tommy has the best two songs, Love in the Midnight to end the record and Lights to start off the record.
All right.
Your thoughts on
Well, I
Love
think
in the
it's
Midnight?
I think it's a great way to end the album.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with this. I don't have any problem with any of the Tommy tracks, to be quite honest. Boat on the Rivers, I don't think fits the record so much, but as a track by itself, I think it's fine. But Love in the Midnight, top notch.
Yep.
Webb says there's echo. Wait a minute. Here, I know what I can do. Here, let me
Check
try
one,
this.
1, 2, 1,
I don't
2,
hear
3.
any echo. Hang on. Echo cancellation. How's that? See if that.
1, 2, 3. You sound louder.
Well, that's because I hit another button.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Davey echo chamber. Oh,
I don't hear the echo now.
it must. Well, that's because I turned on echo cancellation.
Okay.
Well,
So,
anyway,
you
great.
ready to rate the album?
Yeah, but I'm gonna throw it out to the panel. Everybody in the comment section first. I want everybody in the comment section to come in with a rating out of 10. If you know this. Ooh, Jay's going to go with a 4. Jeez. All right. Webb's got a 6. Ooh. Dang, Webb. Zappa's got a 5. Man, people don't like this record very much. Trey's going with a 6. I probably still. Keith is going to go with a 4. Oh my goodness gracious, people!
Wow.
Ultraviolet's going to go with a 5. George is going 5.7. I can already tell you that my rating's already higher. Pete Pardo, 7 out of 10. All right, I'm more, yeah. Jay's going to go with a C+. Damn it, Jay, what does that equal? Davey, what's a C+ out of 10? That would be what, a 5 out of 10?
No.
A 6. That'd be a 6.
Isn't C+ just passing, like 65, 70?
I'm going to give it, I'm going to go with a 6. Wolfpack's going to give it a 7. All right, Maureen's going with a 6. Man, you people, Parrot's going to go with a 7. Patriot Tex. Sorry, Patriot. I called you Parrot. I didn't mean. Forget it. I'm a mess. Jan's going with a 7. Slogan probably has never even heard this record. He's probably going to go with a 6.5.
Higher than I thought.
We've got a 6. You guys are coming in strong. We're never going to get through this episode. Kyle, we don't know where Marlon is. Stick.
Ooh, 2.
Ooh. Can't give it a 2. Ken's going to go for 6.5 for the effort. Wow, you guys are coming in hard. Ted's going to Boat on the River is a great live tune. Loved it. Can close my eyes and envision them on stage. Rating a 7. Okay. Gary Joyce, 6.5. Gary, didn't you already rate it? Maybe not. I'm putting it in there anyway. The Elder of Rock. We're going to go with a 7. DC's going with a 9. I like your mathematical equation.
Intriguing.
You must be brilliant. All right. BM Bolt's going to 7.25. Gee whiz. All right. All right, Davey. So what would you give it?
I'm going to give this an 8. Definitely not as good as the last two.
Right, but I was gonna give it an 8 as well because I really don't have a problem, but it is not as good as what came before.
Yeah, the previous 4 are better, I would
Yeah.
say.
So we'll give it 2 8s. Let's tally up so we can see what we've got. And we've got, oh my goodness, we come up with a 6.2.
Ooh, low.
Geez, that's pretty
That's one
low.
of the lowest in the series.
Well, that's lowest. I think this is probably the lowest one we've had.
Wow.
Mm.
Wait till we get to Edge of the Century and maybe even
Oh,
Gilroy.
it's a okay. Pete says it's the Kiss Dynasty thing. Folks hate I Was Made for Loving You and then rate the whole album low. Makes sense. Because
With Babe.
Babe on it, it but I like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a problem with Babe, but I see what you're saying. So you're probably right. 70s kick Styx is awesome, but this one they kind of ran out of steam. Yeah, see, I just think it's just the changing times. Change of studio, you know. Barry Mraz wasn't involved in this record, and he was involved in all the other ones, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
That's a valid point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Wait till
Yeah.
Brave New. That's exactly. So anyway, we can go on to the next record. So we've got a 6.2. Now
Ooh.
I'm hoping everybody here that you're going to rate Paradise Theater higher, but you might not. So let's get started on that, Davey. 8:44. We can be done by 9. All right.
Okay, I'll breeze through it. I'll just give you the high points of the chart action. Argentina, number 2. Canada, number 3, where it's certified platinum, over 100,000 copies sold. On the Norwegian charts, number 5. Swedish, number 6. UK, 8. US, number 1. Their first and only number 1 album in the US where it went triple platinum. And it also certified in Switzerland, a gold, 25,000 plus. And once again, it's produced by the band. This time they add even more horns. And although it's not credited on Wikipedia, I remember, although I don't have my CD out, that the horn section is called the Hangulator horn section on this record. And there's a lot of horns, but they add a distinct sound and flavor to the record. Once again, produced by Styx, the same engineers as the last record. The vinyl was laser etched on the first pressing. Mm-hmm. It was also a gatefold with the lyrics and pictures of the band inside. That's why I wish I had my vinyl here to show. Does anyone in the comments, does anyone know the other 2 laser etched albums on A&M Records at this time? Grant, let me know if anyone knows the answer.
Well, I know there's one record and there's 145.
Okay, I'm talking about full-length 33s. There are 2 others on A&M. And without cheating, does anyone know it off the top of their heads? Well, and on the album cover, you get the theater in all its glory. And in the back cover, the theater was closed. It's in decline. And this is Dennis DeYoung's Parable for America, how the early 80s, I should say now, because times were changing and Reagan was coming in, and would the country be able to survive or not? You've got it. Keith is on the ball.
But what was the single that was etched that was released at the same time? There was a single. And I've got it.
Was it
I should have pulled it.
By Styx or someone else?
Someone else. I'm going to let everyone else come in because I know what it is. What is the 45 that came out that was etched on A&M?
I should know this. And
you should.
Well, yeah, Split Ends, True Colors was the full-length vinyl, just like the Superman 2 soundtrack.
But there was a single that came out.
On A&M, right?
A&M. I Got You was etched. Yes, the single for I Got You came out was etched.
Okay, just like the Parent album.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest album in the States.
Yeah.
So going into the tracks really fast, you get AD 1928, written by Dennis, sung by Dennis. It uses the main theme from Best of Times. Here you get Tommy Shaw on vocoder, and Dennis is on piano and vocals. So instead of the Fender Rhodes, he's gone back to acoustic piano for this album. It's a minute intro. Then it goes into Rockin' the Paradise, 3.5 minutes, written by Dennis, Tommy, and J.Y. And Dennis sings this. It's an upbeat, catchy, hard rock song. One of the things that was absent from Cornerstone. And they, right after the intro, they start off with this hard rock song, and it's a mission statement to let you know about the theme of the album. It's a call to arms that everyone's got to stand up for themselves, do what's right for the country. That's the way Dennis wrote it. And this was the 4th single from the record, backed with Snowblind. It hit number 8 on the newly minted mainstream rock chart in Billboard at the time in 1981. That's the year my favorite chart in Billboard started, because I was all about listening to the New York rock stations, NEW, PLJ at the time, and seeing what the chart action was in Billboard. So I love that chart. And this is the first album that Styx had songs on the mainstream rock chart. Came out in early 81, and that's when the chart started in early 1981. Get lead guitar by Tommy here, excellent guitar solo, and you get some rollicking piano from Dennis on this track. So it's an upbeat rock, a really good song. What do you think about the first 2 tracks, Grant?
Well, I think the first 2 tracks are hitting it out of the park, Mr. Cretin. Top notch. Is it as top notch as Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight?
Yep.
Well, almost, but it's the production that drives me crazy. But I do think that Pieces of Eight seem to fare better with this type of production, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the songs. Maybe the songs are better. There's just something. It's hard to really put my finger on, because if I look at Cornerstone, Cornerstone, Paradise Theater, and Kilroy, all those 3 albums all exactly sound the same.
But I like the songs on here. The songs hit me more on this album than the previous record. Moving on.
I could agree. Some of it.
Track 3, Too Much Time on My Hands, written and sung by Tommy, 4.5 minutes. His highest charting single in the band, hit number 9. And this is his ode to boredom, 13 years before Green Day put out the song Longview on their Dookie record, which was their major label debut at the time. And Tommy thought of this. I once heard the story that he thought of this as he was driving to the studio. And because he was driving in his vehicle, he had no way of recording the song in the early 1980s, in 1980 to be precise. So he runs into the studio and he tells the Panazos, start playing this kind of beat, do 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 do, and that's how the song got started. And this is one of Tommy Shaw's most beloved songs. And even though it might be a little overplayed now, you can't ignore the greatness of this song. It rocks. It has so much ear candy in it, from Dennis's bass synth to Chuck's bass line, the keyboards, the hand claps, which became popular later on in the 80s. Jack and Diane from John Cougar, other songs we won't go into. You get Tommy Shaw with a great vocal, great guitar solo here. And it hit number 67 in Austria, 4 in Canada. That's Australia. 67 in Australia, 4 in Canada, 9 in the States. Number 2 on the mainstream rock chart at the time. And let's not forget the 2016 parody on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon playing Dennis with the fake mustache and all, and the silly clothes, and Paul Rudd as Tommy Shaw in the blue jumpsuit. And this was a big video on MTV at the time of its inception. So that is definitely worth mentioning, that parody. And check it out. It's on YouTube if you haven't seen it. What do you think of Too Much Time on My Hands?
I never want to hear it again. I think it's the worst Tommy Shaw song I've ever heard. Hey, you know what? I have problems because Tommy, Pete and I talked about this on his channel. If you listen to those 2 Dennis DeYoung Frontiers albums, people were beating up Dennis DeYoung for being too poppy. What is Too Much Time on My Hands?
It's pop, but it still rocks. It's upbeat. It's catchy.
I think this isn't the Tommy Shaw for me. And I love Tommy coming in hot, but come on, Too Much Time on My Hands is kind of lame. It's kind of new wavy, but I just don't. What happened to the great Tommy Shaw here?
See,
this stuff on Cornerstone is way better than what's on here so far.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think so.
That's why this man is a contrarian. And check
I'm
him out
just
on the live
saying,
show
I'm
tomorrow.
just throwing it out there, but I don't think this is, yeah, it was a hit.
Big hit, his only top 10 single.
Very
in the
sterile
band.
sounding guitar part. I don't. So what? There's way better cool guitar parts on Grand Illusion from Mr. Shaw than what's on here. I'm sorry, just how I feel. And I never want to hear this song again. They played it to death. I never thought it was all that hot back then. I'm just saying. It's just rubs me the wrong way.
Okay, let's move on then. Nothing Ever Goes as Planned. 448, written by Dennis, sung by Dennis. The Hangalater horns are here again, and they add some heft to this up-tempo rocker that has touches of reggae, calypso, and jazz. So this song is a little all over the place, but somehow it works. Dennis says it was inspired by the 1979 Joseph Heller novel Good as Gold, which is a great song by Pendragon for all you proggers out there. It's about three characters who plan things out, and then something happens, and it always goes wrong. So you could say this is a spiritual sequel to Why Me from Cornerstone. Chuck Panazzo excels on the bass in this song. And when I saw them live for the first time for the Paradise Theater tour. And during the song, John played drums, Chuck played bass, two roadies came out and held a bar, and Dennis moved away from his keyboards, and Tommy and JY took off their guitars, and they limboed under the bar. And this is what I remember during Nothing Ever Goes as Planned. They only played the song a handful of times on the Paradise Theater tour. And when I saw them at the Nassau Coliseum, this is one of the shows they did it at. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I think it was my second or third show at the time. So I was new to concerts, and I thought it was totally cool that they were doing what I thought was an improv thing, but it was obviously all planned out with the roadies coming out. So that's my big concert memory of seeing Styx back then for the Limbo contest. This was the third single from the record, and it stiffed at number 54 on the US charts. Canada, I have two different numbers for, 33 or 12. I'm not sure which is right. And it did not make the rock chart because probably of the horn section. And it sounds like Tommy doing the solo on the wah-wah pedal on the song. It's a cool solo on Nothing Ever Goes as Planned. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are it should never have been released as a single. I don't have the song. I don't have a problem with the song, but it sounds just very sterile to me. A lot of this record is just so sterile. There is no soul to it.
Wow.
Like, you don't hear how cold this record sounds. Very.
To me, it rocks more. It's more up tempo.
You're basing it. You're saying just because it rocks more makes it better. That doesn't make it better.
Well, you're saying that it's the whole thing with the corporate rock bands that they said Boston, Kansas, Journey,
No,
they all
no.
had
This
soul.
record.
They sounded the same.
I'm talking about the
homogenized.
production on here is very cold.
Well, as your friend Pete says, we all hear things differently. So.
Yeah, but Boston was when they were putting stuff out. That stuff doesn't sound cold production wise. This is not this is an analog recording, but it sounds very digital to me. If that makes sense.
Well, they had a lot of money. The A&M was throwing tons of money at them, and they were using it.
Well, then why are we getting worse sounding records than Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight? Those records sound great.
Different studio, different guys in charge, and just the band progressing, just not in the way you wanted them to.
Jay's agreeing with me. Grant, I do agree. The album lacks warmth. The songs are great, but the sound is somewhat sterile. And I think when you're looking at these records to make a great album, a lot of these things all have to come together. The songs are good, but I think it could deserve better production. That's all I'm saying. And I'm a big production guy.
Oh, I know. Probably bigger than I am in that.
Yeah, some people just, all that matters is the songs, but everything's got to fit. Perfect.
Well, I hear that it sounds different than just like Cornerstone and Kilroy. Like you said, they all sound a little different. They're not as warm sounding, not as inviting.
It all started with Cornerstone, but this is actually probably worse than Cornerstone as far as the sterility for me.
Webb makes a good point.
It almost sounds like some of these, if I'm really listening to Nothing Ever Goes Planned, it almost sounds like a damn demo. Yeah. Sydney always says that. He doesn't care. If it sounds like shit, he loves it. If it sounds great, he loves it. But what I'm saying, it almost sounds like demos. It's almost like some of these songs sound like they're not finished. They sound like demos. I swear to God. I
Okay.
swear to God. Great songs, but let's get in the studio with Barry Mraz and let's really finish them up right. I mean,
Okay.
that's pretty bold statement, but that's kind of how I hear it. Thank you, Webb. Preach it, brother. Yeah. People always want me to get worked up.
Now, I was just a singer in a Ramones tribute band, but you're a musician, so you hear things differently than I do also.
Well, it's not being a musician. It's just listening to the way it sounds.
Tall Water, come on.
No.
Everyone remembers.
Let's not bring that back up. That died. This is
Moving
middle of
on.
the road, 6 out of. Wait a minute, Brian. If you're going to give a rating, let me write it down. All right.
Okay, I'm going to move on because it's getting late. So,
Davey, you keep going. If people want to give me some ratings while Davey is talking about the record, bring it on, and I can put our ratings in. Keep going,
okay.
Davey. And I'll...
Best of Times, the Dennis DeYoung ballad here, sung by him, written by him, 419. The first single from the album in Australia, 23, Germany, 52, New Zealand, 26, the UK, number 42, the US, number 3 on the singles chart. Zimbabwe, again, number 14, and this was a number 1 single in Canada. Number 16 on the rock chart in Billboard, surprisingly. To me, it's the album's centerpiece because its melodies can be heard on the opening track, AD 1928, and the penultimate track, AD 1958. You get some nice lead guitar throughout the song and a guitar solo from Tommy Shaw. And to me, it's better than First Time and Babe. Even though it's sad, it has an uplifting quality to it. So I like this song. Your thoughts?
I was taking numbers. Which one are we talking about?
Best of Times. It's okay.
I think Best of Times is good. I think that's good. I can hear that as a single as opposed to Nothing Ever Goes as Planned.
Yep.
It's often compared to Babe, but it's a little bit, grandier of a range. Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of the Dennis stuff on here, really.
Okay.
It's more of a production thing.
And speaking of Dennis the Menace, which I call him lovingly because one of my favorite singers, moving on, track 6, side 2, Lonely People, 5 minutes, 20 seconds, written by him, sung by him. It starts off with rain and a spoken word thing, and you could understand what's going on here. And to me, it's a throwback to the wooden nickel era because you get the rain sounds like Song from Suzanne from Man of Miracles. And then the spoken word stuff sounds like Movement for the Common Man, the street collage section. So you get a throwback to the wooden nickel era where someone's playing a sax solo, which is Steve Eisen, and Dennis is yelling out his window, "Hey, stop that noise." Just the whole thing about that. And then the song comes in and the Hangalater horns take a prominent role here. You get a cool Panazzo Brothers groove that takes over. And it sounds like Tommy Shaw on wah-wah pedal guitar on this song in the right speaker, and JY is doing power chords in the left speaker. So a lot of the Styx stuff sounds really, Styx stuff, say that 3 times fast, sounds really good in headphones or earbuds because they do a lot of ear candy, panning back and forth, and definitely Lonely People is one of those songs. You hear JY's vocals pop in the vocal triads here when they sing Lonely People on the chorus. Dennis peels off an odd synth solo, and then it goes into some nice guitar bursts with it. Then you get a full-fledged guitar solo for about 30 seconds. And I love the way Dennis holds the note on the last word of the song, Despair. I think it's a really good, hard-rocking deep cut.
Definitely I think it's definitely a deep cut. Yeah, I think it's good. I don't have a problem with it. I think we start going into some really good stuff here after this track, though.
Oh, here's where we disagree.
I love She Cares.
Oh, to me, that's the weak spot on the record. Written by Tommy, sung by
not
Tommy.
For me.
4:17 in length. It's an upbeat song with him on acoustic guitar, Dennis on piano, and Dennis is really good on the piano on this song. It's got a catchy chorus, which to me is the highlight of it. It's got an understated guitar solo but then Steve Eisen plays what to me is an unnecessary sax solo. Should have been more guitar here. I think it's the forgotten song from the record. I don't think they ever played it live, and it's my least favorite song on the record. And
I
obviously,
think
we have disagreement.
well, louder. Jay says She Cares is the Never Say Never Paradise Theater. Paradise Theater does have a great. God, I can't talk. It does have great harmonies in the chorus. I don't have a problem with She Cares because it's a lovely Tommy Shaw song and he sounds great on it. I mean, it's like it's a nice upbeat love song as far as I'm concerned. And I just think it's a good vocal delivery and I have no problem with it. I like it better than Boat on the River. But we all hear this stuff
Okay.
differently.
Yep. I disagree, but it's not a bad song. It's just my least favorite on the record. Then
It's
we
one of
move
my
on.
more favorites on the record. There you
Okay.
go.
Wow, cool. We disagree. I love it. Then we get to Snowblind, written by the three main songwriters in the band, even though Tommy Shaw is uncredited. Let me try that again.
He's
Uncredited.
uncredited.
Uncredited on lyrics, but he says he wrote lyrics to the song. To me, it's the proggiest song on the record. It's all about cocaine addiction, and they took the name from the Black Sabbath song, which I'm guessing is JY. He was probably the big Sabbath fan in the band. And you get the mellow JY sung verses, which contrasts with the Tommy Shaw verses and choruses, which are more upbeat, and it shows the lows and the highs of cocaine addiction. That's what the song is about. And Tommy's quoted as saying, I did it at parties in the late 70s and 80s. Everyone was doing it. It was a thing to do. I never did heroin, but maybe I should have done that because I heard that makes you happy and cocaine just brings you down.
I thought it was the opposite.
That's what he says about it. He said he's glad he never tried heroin,
I
but
have no idea.
that's what he heard about it. And this song, for some reason, people thought in the Bible Belt in America, I think it started at, that this song had backwards messages on it. Someone was playing records backwards in the late 70s and early 80s and started a rumor that one of the lines on the song, when you play the song backwards, says Satan moves through us or something to that effect.
I thought that was Led Zeppelin.
Supposed to be on for Styx too. They said something to that effect, maybe not those exact words. And Dennis says, we have enough trouble making the records forwards, making them sound good. Why the hell would we make them sound good backwards? What the hell are they talking about? We're the band that has a song called Babe. Why would we put a song about Satan on our records?
Why not?
He poo-pooed the whole thing, and then it led him to writing the follow-up album, Kilroy Was Here, where they did include backwards messages, but more on that on our next episode. You get an excellent lead guitar solo from JY here. And this has the crunch and the heft, and that's what's missing from Cornerstone. Exquisite backing vocals throughout. You get Chuck Panazzo on bass pedals, which adds a nice flavor and texture to the song. And I dig Dennis's proggy keyboards on here. And they pull off the vocals live. I've seen them do this live multiple times, even going back to the Paradise Tour. And to me, this is the highlight, my favorite song on the album, Snowblind. Your
Davey,
thoughts?
I'm going to agree with you 100%. My favorite track on the record. This is top-notch Styx. This is what everybody was waiting for after Cornerstone and, well, so far into this record. I mean, this is just like old Styx to some degree with, production that's very sterile.
And it sounds good. It has the two vocalists on it. It has JY, then Tommy. They trade off. Great song.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with this song. I could listen to it over and over and never get tired of it. So there you go.
I agree. Then we move on to the near 6-minute Halfpenny, Twopenny, written by James Young and his friend Ray Brandel, who co-wrote some stuff with him in the Wooden Nickel era. And I think he's one of the guys that he and JY and Dennis co-wrote Man of Miracles, the title track back in the day. I think the song is much better than Eddie from Cornerstone. It's a rave up. It's the penultimate track here. You get more spoken word stuff low in the background. I'm not sure what they say. And then JY peels off a delicious guitar solo to remind you of his presence in the band that was missing from the previous record. Chuck has some nice bass playing throughout, including some nice fills amongst his anchoring root notes, as does his brother John on drums. And then the denouement of the song, when it starts getting mellow and quiet, It harkens back with the horns and piano to Dennis's main theme from The Best of Times. And that leads into the last song, last proper song, AD 1958, 1:06 long. And to quote from Dream Theater's Octavarium, this story ends where it began because the record is ending just like it began. The same
Correct.
melody that began the album ends it. And Dennis tweaks the lyrics a little for a final goodbye. He's on piano and vocals, Tommy Shaw on vocoder again. And it's very reflective, and it makes you think about the themes and the songs, about what you just heard. I don't know if I'd call this a concept record. It's almost more of a thematic record to me. You get some nice subtle bass and drum work from the Panazzo twins on here. And then you get the only 26-second long State Street Sadie, which is tough to say. And that's just a little throwaway thing. It's sort of like, sounds like a player piano that's harkening back to the 1920s when the record started. But I think Halfpenny, Two Penny, and AD 1958 end the record in really fine style. And the whole thing about this record, like JY was absent from the last record, Tommy only has 2 credited songs on the record. She Cares and Too Much Time on My Hands. So was he starting to save songs for his forthcoming solo record here, or was he just too busy partying and not writing songs?
I believe he was too busy partying and not writing any songs.
Okay.
But
So that's
here's where I have a problem. It's more of a Dennis record. Don't have a
Definitely.
problem with Dennis, but Cornerstone has a lot more Tommy on it, and
It does.
I like that record better.
You are 100% correct, sir. Shall I give my rating?
Please give your rating because everybody else has already given theirs, and then we'll tally it up. All right, go ahead.
I'm giving this a 9. Number
A
9, number 9, number 9.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it a 9.
I figured.
I'm
What are
gonna
you
give
giving
it
it?
I'm going to give it a 7.
Oh, so you like Cornerstone better than Paradise? And I'm
Oh,
the reverse.
100%. 100%. Louder, did you already give me? All right, I'll put it in there anyway. So 7. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Cornerstone. It's like a Tommy album. If Tommy did a solo album, I wish it would have sounded like that as opposed to Girls with Guns.
I like a lot of Girls with Guns.
7. Look,
Great
everybody's
song.
I'm an influencer. 7. See how the people see? I'm influencing.
I just think it's a bounce back from Cornerstone a little.
Oh, text 8.5. Okay. Ken's going with the 7.5. All right, I think we're good enough. Wait a minute, let me put Ken's in there. Hold on, Jesus, it's a lot for me to handle. Oh, wait a minute. Steven's got an 8.25. All right, that's it. I'm cutting it off. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh, I must have put a shit. I must have screwed up something. Hold on.
Grant's got his spectacles on.
I see what I did. You can't have you got to have and I did it twice. Hold on. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, now it should work. Okay. Oh. What do you think we have, Davey?
Well, I didn't see all of them.
I got out my abacus is what I did.
I think it did better than Cornerstone. It did. Okay.
7.45. That's right.
It's Grant's channel. It's Grant's show.
It's my show, damn it. Slogan.
I'm the
I'll
co-pilot.
I'll throw you off of here so fast. Anyway. So so it did better, 7.45. So I'm not surprised by that at all. So
that's the popular opinion for the most part. But you have a contrarian take, which is great.
Well, you like what you like. You know, I think after Pieces of 8, we just kind of keep going down.
A little bit. See, I think this goes up the hill and then we'll see what happens in the next show. The next show, could I tell them about the next show, Grant? Since
Yes,
we're
go,
running a
Davey.
little
Tell
late?
them about the next show. We'll wrap this dog up.
The next show we are doing Kilroy Was Here and the double live album, and we might even talk about the video at the time on VHS, Caught in the Act Live, which had one new studio track on it that is really hated by a lot of Styx fans. So you'll have to see what we think about Music Time and the whole Kilroy Was Here album.
100%.
One last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you think your opinion of Cornerstone is higher because it was the first time you saw the band live?
Well, it could have something to do with it.
Because maybe that's why I like Paradise Theater more. That was when I first saw them.
It could have something to do with that, but it's a lot more Tommy Shaw in there, and I love Tommy Shaw. I know I was ragging on Tommy for his solo material, but man, his Styx material, I dig totally. And I think he really shines on Cornerstone. He's
He
not
does.
present as much on Paradise Theater.
It's a Dennis album.
And I don't have a problem with Dennis, but I like a good balance. And there's not a balance. I think you don't have as much JY on Cornerstone, but I think you have a pretty good balance between Tommy and Dennis on Cornerstone.
I think there's beefier guitars here. There's just more electric guitar, and sort of
It
JY's
depends on what
back.
you want.
JY's up front, and Tommy sort of moves slightly into the background. At least as a songwriter here, with only 2 songs, maybe 3, if he did write lyrics to Snowblind.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this dog up. So, Davey, what's coming up on your channel? Anything we need to know about?
I just dropped the second with my better half, Tia. She and I are doing a Fix album study. We just put out Reach the Beach, and I have some great special guests coming up on my channel.
Probably, since it's you and Tia, I see if I can make it do a heart.
And we put that up. We're about to do a concert review also because we saw the Fix live a week ago. Nice.
There you go.
So sweet. And I have John Clauser, Johnny Metal coming up, guesting on Cretin Classics, and Jack Toledano from All or Nada, according to Jack.
No, either of those guys.
You know them both.
I don't know either one.
So look for new shows coming on Cretin Classics in the month of May.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Warehaus, I'm finally doing some solo shows, which I never do, but I figure, hey, Grant, what the hell? Because I don't really like listening to myself talk, and I really don't like me just sitting around talking music by myself. But anyway, there's all these bands, I just put a Rooney show up where we're playing a couple of tracks from each of these bands that are pretty unknown. So we're going to be looking at Hal and Maggie here pretty soon. We'll be looking at the Nymphs.
I remember them. There's a famous, the famous story about them, right?
No.
What the lead singer did on the Geffen Records A&R guy's desk. And that's all I'll say.
Oh, I don't know that.
Tom, what's his last? This is a 2 dot, something like that. Tom with a Z. I can't even think of her name, the lead singer for the Nymphs. Do you know her name?
Thanks, Webb. No, I don't. We're going to look at that, though, shortly. So there's
more.
You got to
look up that story is that she got up on the desk and did something she shouldn't have done on his desk.
Peed?
Yes, exactly. You said it, not me.
Oh, it's my show. I can say it.
That was the rule.
There you go, everybody. Fickle Pickle is great. Yeah, thanks. Art in America. Well, if you've got any, if there's any of these bands you want me to do and you've got good ideas, I'm always looking for new stuff. So put it down in the comments.
You didn't say you have 10 shows up. I saw the first 4 this morning when I took a break from my notes.
I don't know. I think I have 7 up.
I thought it was 10.
I don't think I have 10.
I think it's 10. Well, I saw the first 4, so I'm going to continue with the others tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, I was cranking them out. I'll crank out a couple more tonight after we're done. Maybe.
Yeah, they're nice short shows, like 7 to 12.
They're like 8 minutes. Hey, get in and out, because most people watch these shows. They only watch 15 minutes of these programs anyway.
And we've gone on over an hour now. So,
well, if you do a live show, they kind of stick around. But if you do a pre-recorded show, they only watch 15 minutes of it. So just saying, I figured, well, why don't I do something that's like 8 minutes long and see what happens?
That was my favorite, Webb. Bad Boy. Horrible name, but it sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah, they're good. I got the first album, but I'm not going to put it. You can go out and check out the first album before, but I didn't have it when I did that one. Loud, not true, Jay. I don't know. I'm looking at my data. I look at Contrarian's data too, and it's all the same data. All right, well, let's go. All right, Davey, if you haven't subscribed to Mr. Cretin's channel, please do. Give him some love. Check out his channel. He's going to have Johnny Metal on, for God's sake.
Yep, his last show before his hiatus.
Last one, yeah, because he's not going to be on Contrarians for like a month.
He's taking a summer hiatus,
Yeah,
or
I don't
spring
know.
hiatus, I should say.
Yeah. So anyway, wait a minute. Ken says the real music fans are here. Start to 100%, and I appreciate all the support. All right, Davey, we will see you. We'll be back next month for the next installment of Styx. The Styx series continues. All right, everybody. We'll see you and have a good night.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.